I'm not sure I know what motherhood looks like without having babies. Age and my husband assure me that there will come a day when there has to be a last. I will work through the mourning process and mother better and stronger and with more love, because motherhood has always been my style.
Motherhood has always been my style. What a beautiful sentiment from our Studio 5 parenting contributor, Heather Johnson. That was a clip from 9 years ago. Yet the message of the sadness and the contentment that comes when you've had your last baby holds true for many moms. And although each mom is special and unique, there is much that women share in this stage. These are the universal experiences of motherhood that in honor of Mother's Day, we celebrate. We've recruited our parenting contributor, Heather Johnson, to share 7 shared truths of motherhood. And that clip that we just showed was from an event called Listen to Your Mother. You were the director of that event, and you were a speaker that particular year. For those who aren't familiar, remind us what that was about.
Yeah, so Listen to Your Mother was a national show. It's now been retired. Northern Utah, as well as 30 other cities each year, hosted a Listen to Your Mother show. So what happened was the 2 weeks leading up to Mother's Day, these shows happened across the entire country. And so women all over Utah, hundreds of them over the 4 years we held a show, would write a monologue. It had to be their own work. And the only topic, the only suggestion was motherhood. It could look any way they wanted it to look. And so they would come and audition, and then I had an opportunity to choose, 10 to 15, pull them, and then create a show each year that we put on that people came to listen to.
And you described it well, even though each of those monologues were so unique and so, different to that particular mother's experience or belief system. You say there were a few themes that you could pick up on in almost every monologue.
Every monologue, and every year we always heard very, very similar shared truths when it came to motherhood. One of the ones that we always heard was that the good does outweigh the bad. The good outweighs it, which is pretty interesting. A lot of the monologues had a lot to say about how challenging motherhood was and the ups and the downs. And these are big things and little. We're talking infertility to a 2-year-old who won't eat peas. I mean, we have the whole gamut in what we're listening to here. How beautiful to know that the good always outweighs the challenging as a shared truth, right?
Yes.
We also came to learn that no matter what a relationship was like with your mother when they were alive, everyone always missed their moms when they passed away.
And this is where I start to lose it. Yeah, so I told Heather, we're both going to have a hard time getting through this. I couldn't even read through these without misting over. We miss our moms when they're gone.
We do, and I really love this one. I love the ones that help us maybe pause for a minute and recognize what these relationships look like.
Yeah.
And so to hear that, women would stand up and say, and read their monologues and say, I don't talk to my mom, or our relationships are strained, or there's a struggle. And I loved hearing them say after that, no matter what, I still missed her when she was gone. Which, isn't that a beautiful reminder for us right now today to do whatever it takes to build these relationships, to heal them, to grow them, and to connect? That is very much a shared truth.
Another shared truth, I'm going to reach for these. They're always here, but I think we're going to need them today. This idea that, the relationship between mother and child, there will be some regrets.
There's regrets, there's some resentment. And again, we look at regrets and, you're listening to these women and a few men. We got a few brave men who always auditioned and made a couple of the shows. And as they're talking about these relationships between mothers and children, there are regrets. And we can see that as negative, except that's not what these women were saying. These women were actually saying that because these relationships mean so much, they were always analyzing, working on, and trying to strengthen. That's what those regrets
are. And that's a beautiful truth.
And that is a beautiful truth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We also came to know and hear, even this one hits home for me, that transitions in motherhood are really hard, that they're challenging. It could be a first child. For me, it really was that recognition that there will be no more.
Yeah.
And that's mine. That one's really hard for me. It was children leaving an empty nest. There was these transitions that women had to take a step back and really just strengthen themselves and buoy themselves up.
I say this to anyone who will listen. It stunned me as a mother, because when you're a child, you have a summer vacation and then you go to school, and a summer vacation and you go to school, and it's this pattern that just keeps repeating from your childhood perspective. As a mom, every year brings these huge transitions, and you described some really big ones, and it takes a constant flexibility and acceptance, right, of what is.
There is, and I think we just learn how to be in this transition. Like, we just learn how to be.
We just got it.
Where we're at,
yeah.
And all of a sudden something shifts. And if you have more than one child, it was often expressed this shared truth that you had to figure out for you personally how to transition while you were still living and hanging on to the transition behind you. And so as I'm sending, a child to another part of the country, as he's decided to go do something different in his life right now and he's left our home, I still have a 6-year-old that I'm working that transition with. And that was a challenge. Those transitions bring challenges.
It's I think why, and you could probably put this into words better than I could, but the emotion is so rich because you're working all chapters of life from your motherhood seat.
Absolutely. And with that feeling and knowledge that what we are doing is that important.
Yes.
It's that important. So the energy and effort and worry that goes into it, it is big. It's all consuming.
Yeah.
And so to hear these women express that, it was very much a shared truth. They also shared that all women feel a need, all mothers feel a need to create.
Which I love this. This actually was a show. If we go back to the roots of Studio 5, the word studio was chosen quite purposefully because it describes a place where women create. And this idea that, no matter your DIY skill, no matter if you can work a jigsaw or what you can do with a paintbrush, that women have this innate desire to create. And you say that rings true in motherhood as well.
Absolutely. To breathe life into something. There's a lot that we can do. Again, if we're looking at words and mother and mom, there's a lot with that. But women and men expressed how their life was breathed, if that's a word, into them by their mothers.
Yeah.
And women the same thing, and what it feels like to give life to. And that looks different. It doesn't always mean birthing a child, but women desire to give life to something. They want to be creative. They want to be creative. We also heard 2 others from mothers all the time. Mothers were very quick to say that they didn't ever regret showing love. And this was always in contrast of the fact that when our kids are challenging or when motherhood gets hard, when we feel overwhelmed, the one thing that we usually pull back on is showing love. We withhold it. And so it was beautiful to hear these 4 years and these hundreds of monologues, mothers continually say that they didn't ever feel bad when they decided to show love, which again is this beautiful reminder that showing love to other people, it does buoy us up.
That leading with love is always the right decision.
Always the right decision. And I think maybe the biggest one that wraps it all up is there was always this shared truth that as mothers, we have what it takes. We have what it takes. And so it was through all the challenges and again, all these shared experiences that women stood in front of hundreds of other women and men and said, I've come to know that I'm enough. That as a woman and as a mother, I'm enough, as is. And that I can have the capacity to do whatever it takes to help in this home with these children. How beautiful at Mother's Day to celebrate that as women, we're enough. That is a shared truth that I hope all women have an opportunity to feel.
Amen. Amen. You made that through that beautifully. Only my nose was running here. Thanks for leaving me alone in that beautiful message. Beautiful message. We'll post this conversation on our website if you want to share it with another mother, another woman who could celebrate these same truths. And you can look for that link at studio5.ksl.com. You'll also find Heather's contact information there as well. Happy Mother's Day.
Same to you.
Beautiful celebration. We'll be right back.